Welcome, everybody, to the Sober Life Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Jones. I want to thank you for joining us today and remind you that if you like this show, you know what? Even if you don't like this show, do it anyway. Subscribe to the page, like it, and share it with your friends. And don't forget to leave comments because we read those comments, and those comments help us to figure out what kind of programming to bring to you. And if you want to be a guest, hey, let me know. Maybe you'll just be our next guest right here on Sober Life Podcast. And also to tell you that this is being brought to you from the Sober Life Studios right here in Davie, Florida. Now, we have some special guests with us. I always love when we have more than one person, because if you count all the voices in my head, I always have more than one. But just for today, we've got good people with us. We've got Stephanie Robilio.
Yes.
And Katy Lund, and they are from Agape Behavioral Health. Did I get all that right?
Yes, Agape Behavioral Healthcare.
Healthcare.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference if I don't say healthcare.
I guess it's up to perception, but yes.
Okay.
We'll go with Agape Behavioral Healthcare.
Behavioral health care. I got it. Agape Behavioral Healthcare. There's a couple of pieces to it, and one I'm really familiar with is your treatment center for addictions and alcoholism right here in Fort Lauderdale.
That is,
and that's the original location?
That's true, yes.
And Stephanie, you are the chief clinical officer.
I am.
So that sounds important.
It is important. It is important. It is important.
And we have chief programming officer. So you guys have been there. You've been there for quite a while, though, haven't you?
Yes, I'm coming up on 6 years this June. I've been there pretty much from the beginning.
In the recovery industry, that's actually a long time. People might not understand that people move around a lot in this industry.
I was actually just sharing with Karen that it's pretty unheard of for somebody in my role to be at one facility for so long, because usually turnover is quick, burnout is quick. But I think it really speaks to our leadership, our CEO, George, how he really leads with love and allows us to just be who we are. I think that's really a testament to his leadership.
George is a very interesting character. I mean, it's hard to describe him, but he is he's so people-centered in how he talks to people and befriends people. And does that carry over to the whole place there? That kind of attitude?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, his whole mission is really bringing hospitality to healthcare. And he believes strongly in taking care of people so that we can take care of the people, right? So his belief is if he pours into us as a team, then we can show up as our best, which means we can give our best to those we serve. And that's really what he cares about.
Well, let's talk about who you serve, first of all. And so Agape is for who?
So we are a behavioral healthcare company serving adults struggling with alcoholism, addiction, or mental health. We believe strongly the core belief of all of this is trauma. So that's really what our program is centered around, helping individuals heal from their trauma and as a result, healing from addiction and mental health. Okay.
Now, are you mental health centered as well? Is it ACA?
Yes.
So that's a license you have to have, because a lot of places out there, they say we can handle mental health. But that's a lot different than actually being licensed to handle it. Explain the difference there. I guess, Katy, go ahead.
Sure. I mean, as far as the licensure goes, it allows us to treat people who don't have an addiction. So some of the clients that we serve come in, they have, say, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar 1. We're really able to treat all of that. Yeah.
So that also matters, because sometimes if somebody's placed somewhere and maybe the belief is there's a primary addiction problem.
Right.
But then after, generally, if you find out after the detox that the insurance says, we're not going to treat, we want to treat the mental health. We're not going to pay. And that means now all of a sudden the client's got to be moved. And when that happens, that could be disruptive to a client's mental health, right?
Absolutely. 100%. And even so, what's special about our program too is we actually have like 3 different programs running simultaneously within the treatment center. So we have groups going on all day for primary mental health. And then we have substance use groups going on. And we also have military first responders groups going on as well. And with that community, what we see primarily is mental health.
Right.
There's very few addiction. In fact, like the people that we serve are generally active duty. So, yeah. Now
that's a difficult thing to determine, because if you're looking at somebody, and we're seeing a crossover now. I think the latest number I heard was it's anywhere between 60 and 70%. There's a real crossover between mental health and addiction. and whether it's because of a trauma, mental health, or because of a imbalance.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not something that you can just talk to somebody and figure out. I mean, it takes a little time to figure that out, doesn't
Exactly.
It does. I mean, our team does a really excellent job at the forefront of things. So our pre-screening process is very thorough, where they're spending a lot of time getting to know the individual who's seeking treatment. And then part of that process is we're collecting as many medical records as possible on the person's history. So then by the time it makes it to myself and our medical team, we're reviewing the entire case before deciding, is this person appropriate for the level of care? And it's really because that's what's the best service for that individual. We want to make sure that we're admitting them into the appropriate program and level of care.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they are admitted, we have very lengthy assessments and evaluations just to collect as much history as possible. We contact family for collateral contact, which I think is a key part of the process, right? To ask the family for history, because sometimes the client might minimize what he or she is going through, or they might not even be aware of the extensiveness, especially if they've been in active alcoholism or addiction, right? We know denial is present.
Mm-hmm.
And then those with severe mental health, they truly sometimes are out of touch with reality. So it's very, very helpful to involve family, which we do. And that really allows us to best serve the client coming in.
That's a difficult thing, because there's a real component of people with a mental health disorder of any kind, whether it's a serious disorder or maybe something that's a little more easily manageable. A lot of times the alcohol and drugs are about a self-medicating, or numbing to certain things. So it's almost like you've kind of got to detox them a little bit before you can find out for sure. And then at that point, you really got to make decisions. This is where, when people say we've got to meet them where they're at and we got to individualize treatment, this is where that really has meaning, doesn't it? Because you can't just group everybody together.
No.
Absolutely. And we believe strongly it's not one box fits all. And that's why we really take our time to develop a tailored, individualized treatment plan based on all the information that we're collecting. And sometimes people's treatment plans look very, very different. But I think that's one of the things that makes Agape so unique, is that we have the space and flexibility to truly provide individualized care.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's, because like I said, everybody says it's on everybody's website,
Right.
individual purpose.
Yeah.
But you're talking about they're going to different groups and they're on different tracks,
Mm-hmm.
and they're constantly being helped, right?
Yeah. And so say you have somebody with an addiction, they come in and they think it's like, oh, I was addicted to meth, I was addicted to heroin, whatever. And that's what they're going to treatment for. But then like 2 weeks in, we start to find out, oh, maybe it's a diagnosis of bipolar, or maybe it is depression, or they think like, wow, let me focus on my mental health. So that person who's been attending the recovery groups, they can then switch to attend the mental health. People can flip-flop based off of the needs that they have in that moment or that week or whatever their therapist is recommending, which is really neat.
And then I imagine the communication with the staff has to be stellar when you have all these different things going on, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, we are really committed to communication. So we have a daily morning meeting, then we have an end of the day debrief meeting, and that really allows all departments to be communicating to ensure that we are staying on track with what's best for the client we're serving. If there's a change in, let's say, their mood, their behaviors, their symptoms, their presentation, it's not waiting till the next day. We're really capturing that information same day, which allows us to make a determination for what's best for this person moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard all of it, and I worked for many years in the treatment industry, and I'm trying to change some of the paradigms that are out there. But one of the things that I used to hear all the time is, well, the clients are constantly triangulating, and they're trying to pit people against people, and they're doing all this, and it's like, stop looking at the client, start looking at your system. Why is your system why is it possible for that to happen? You know why? Because nobody talks to each other. You guys know that.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's interesting because we've heard that too, like, oh, the client's triangulating or splitting. And a lot of times for us, it's like, of course they are. This is a learned behavior and it's part of their survival mechanism. And a lot of times a person who's in need, they don't know how to advocate for what they need. So they go to this person, they go to that person. And it's not necessarily malintent. Maybe sometimes it's manipulation depending. But at the end of the day, you're right. It falls on us as the provider to ensure our systems are intact, to make sure that we can provide the best care for those that we're serving.
Hey, listen, if I go to a hotel and the clerk did not get my reservation, but the manager did, then the clerk says, well, I'll put you up in the president's suite. I'm not going to say no, because that's their broken system.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times we put, not we, as in we in this room, but a lot of times our industry puts the onus on the clients. If they behave better, we would treat them better. That's backwards thinking, isn't it?
Yeah.
How are they supposed to behave better? It's like we only want people who are serious about recovery. They're not going to be serious until you show them and teach them. Do you guys have a lot of patience with that kind of stuff? And is there a lot of, do you train your staff to deal with all of that?
Absolutely. We have a belief that behaviors tell a story, and it's our job to see beyond the behavior and to look at the behavior without judgment. I think that we are failing people if we judge behaviors. Behaviors are the most beautiful thing that a person can give us because they really are revealing a story. And it's up to the trained professional to get curious, right? See beyond the behavior and be kind throughout the process. I think that to think that somebody's going to come to treatment and be well behaved is just, it's silly for a nice word. That's silly.
It really is silly.
Yeah.
It's stupid. It's really, let's be honest.
Okay, it's stupid.
It's stupid.
It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
It doesn't make sense.
It's like you got somebody who's been out on the street, and not every person with an addiction or alcoholism is a street person. It's not true, but you do get those people that have not been done anything but survive on their wits and their cunning and even their anger. That's how they've survived. And then they come in, it's like, you've got to, day one, you've got to sit in group very quietly. You got to respect everybody. You got to do this, you got to do that. And I'm always wondering, like, where's that coming from? I mean, which genie is giving them that power?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a very difficult thing.
Yeah. Another thing that sets us apart too is like our focus on trauma. So each one of our clinicians, like all of our master level clinicians, are trained in a different type of trauma modality. So that's something extremely unique that I don't know of any other treatment provider that offers that.
Now you're saying different types of trauma modality. Now, not many people understand their trauma is not just a simple thing.
Right.
Everybody thinks, I saw somebody get shot, that's trauma. That's not even all of it. It's not even close.
Well, I think so many people have a misunderstanding of trauma for that reason. They think it's this serious injury or this big assault. And yes, those are considered traumatic.
Certainly.
But traumas, it's not always what happened to you, it's what didn't happen for you. And beyond that, it's the narrative that the individual has as a result of what happened or didn't happen, right? That's what we're treating. It's that internal narrative that maybe it was, hey, I grew up and all I wanted was my dad to be at my football games. And every time I looked over to the sideline, he was nowhere to be found. And as a result, I feel like I'm not loved or I'm not good enough, right? Like that could be trauma for some person. Whereas maybe another person says, hey, I've been in an abusive relationship and my partner's been physically hitting me for the last 5 years. That's also trauma. So what's interesting, to speak to Katy's point, is each clinician is trained and certified in an evidence-based modality, from rapid resolution therapy. That's what I'm trained in. I love this modality. Accelerated. Yes, he's one of the best.
Yeah, I worked with him 15 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's who I trained with, directly with him.
Excellent.
And he's just, I think, one of the most brilliant people on earth. And
I think it goes Shapiro, Connolly, and then everybody else.
And everybody else.
Right?
Yeah, he's really up there. Accelerated resolution therapy, EMDR, so eye movement desensitization reprocessing. We have somatic integrative trauma work, which is really cool. That's all about how trauma is stored in the body and really helping individuals identify where their trauma is trapped, for a lack of a better word. And then we also have reconciliation of traumatic memories, which is ART and the RTM are specific for
vets.
and
They
active
say
duty.
like
Thank God, guys, there's not going to be a test after this because I'm screwed.
And then clinical hypnotherapy as
and
well.
clinical hypnotherapy. See, we're doing.
Yes.
There's so many, it's hard to keep
And
up.
it's done with their primary therapist, so it's not just like a contracted therapist.
Well, that's a lot of
You know
times
what
you
I
see
mean?
that where somebody will come in from the outside, you don't know who they are, they do something, and you go talk to you.
Yeah.
Why all of that though? Because I know many treatment centers that'll take one, maybe two of those and just build their name on it.
Yeah.
But why so many?
Because again, it goes to what I said earlier. There's not one box fits all.
Mm-hmm.
And so our clinicians, we do a really amazing job at assessing the person and gathering their trauma history. And then we make a determination on, would this person be best for clinical hypnotherapy or ART? Or maybe a lot of times we say, you know what? This person's struggling to recall their trauma, but we know trauma is present. They meet with one of our therapists who does clinical hypnotherapy, and then from there they see the ART. So it's just to really, again, give that tailored, individualized care and to make sure that we are doing what we can to achieve quick results. You know, a lot of times people think that in order to heal your trauma that you have to be in, treatment for 60, 90 days. And that too is a disservice, that you can experience good results pretty quickly as long as we develop safety and rapport.
If you reach the right center point or the core issue, and if there's a way to reconcile that, it can happen in days. It doesn't have to be weeks or months.
That's right.
And then people change. Everybody's like, well, it takes forever to change. No, it doesn't. And when you get to the end of the driveway, you decide you turn left or you turn right.
Yes.
That's a change.
That's right.
And it's
Yeah.
about starting to create those good behaviors. I got to ask you though. I mean, Katy, I know that you like me. We're in recovery, and are you? How do you treat your recovery as far as a part of your work? Is that an important part of your work that you do?
Yeah, I mean, without me taking care of myself every single day and going to meetings, having a sponsor, working the steps, I won't be able to do what I do. You know what I mean? To where, like every morning I wake up, I pray, I do a reading, I meditate. Nothing has changed. But without that, there's been plenty of times where I start to slack on my recovery, and believe me, my work is affected, but without my recovery, I have nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we're not perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, you skip going to the gym for a day or 6 months. And
hey, we're living an honest life.
They love my money. I joined the gym because I wanted to lose about $30 a month. So anyway,
I've been there also.
Yeah.
Been there also. But you make a difference in people's life too.
You do.
By, like standing up and
So it's pretty obvious that it's very personal to you on that level.
Absolutely.
Why do you do this?
Yes, I do this because I know what it's like to struggle. I lived many years suffering with pretty bad depression, anxiety, and severe OCD. And, during that time, I just thought this is who I am and there's something wrong with me. It wasn't until I encountered a really amazing therapist who helped me realize that I had my own trauma. I discounted it because I didn't have some serious abuse, but through therapy, I was able to identify that I had my own trauma, and it led me to these maladaptive patterns. And so because I know what it's like to struggle, and I also know what it's like to be well, I really feel led to help people kind of have their own experience of going through their struggles and knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
So you have your own recovery path as well.
I do.
Oh, yeah.
And even with us, I mean, obviously alcoholism, especially alcoholism, has been minimized. It's like, I just likes to drink a few too many, whatever. Drug addiction, not so much, because it's hard to reconcile that. But even when you're talking about OCD,
oh yes,
you see people minimize OCD, or they don't mean to, but they'll run around and say, I am like OCD as hell. I am crazy OCD, and they say these things. They have no idea what it really is.
Yeah, I think we're living in a time where people are really utilizing mental health responses, as I would call it, in such a light way. Like, oh, I feel so bipolar today. It's like, I think we need to be very sensitive about the conversations we're having and the language we're using, because things like bipolar are very serious. And still being in recovery, I have to work very hard every single day to not fall back into some of my obsessive patterns. It's nothing to take lightly. I mean, I lived many years where it actually interrupted my day-to-day functioning pretty intensely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a scary time now.
Yes.
It's a scary time for mental health, and it's a scary time for addictions. And I mean, I lost my wife about 4 years ago to a fentanyl, and there's people out there that have been using and doing things a certain way. Now there's new drugs come along, and they're dead in the night, and they don't understand. But with mental health as well, we're not educating people on mental health. Generally, it comes up when somebody shoots something up or something bad happens is when we talk about it. And we got our kids, 9-year-old, 10-year-old kids, texting each other saying, I got an F on my report, FML, which is F my life.
Right.
Right.
And we're making this part of our normal conversation that my life sucks because of one thing. But that's, do you see, are you terrified?
Right. Oh my goodness. We were actually just talking
Conditioning,
about it this morning, how the conditioning is so real. And that even like, let's say we were talking the conversation, let's say you're raising a little child, and children are raised with moralistic thinking. You do good, you're celebrated. You do bad, you're punished. So then let's say now the kid's 15 and they bring home a C, and they've been told their whole life that you only get A's and B's if you want to be rewarded. And now they bring home a C, and now suddenly they feel like I'm a failure. I'm not good enough. I disappointed my parents. What comes next? Drugs, alcohol, other risky behaviors, anxiety, depression, fear. So I mean, this isn't to talk about parenting styles today, but I think it's just to really have the conversation of how important it is to have real conversations and be very mindful about our delivery, especially to our youth. They are our future.
It's not about styles, though. It's about awareness.
Yeah.
It's about honest, open conversation. It's about maybe the time that kids are spending in high school trying to learn calculus that they're never going to use, unless you're I don't know when you would use it. I don't know. I was going to say something else. No freaking idea.
You're like 1% of the population.
Yeah. There's somebody out there with a slide rule. I'm sorry. But why not have a class on mental health?
Yeah,
exactly.
Why not teach kids the difference between being sad and being depressed?
Yeah.
Why not teach people the difference between, mommy's just kind of mad today, or mommy's struggling and needs help?
Yes.
Those kind of things.
Coping
That's
skills.
how we heal our culture. But we're still so far from that.
I know.
You're agreeing with me on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's a lot. It's tough to see every day, and yeah.
And it's
very
interesting
difficult.
because a lot of the clients that we have an opportunity to serve, when you get to know them and you hear their stories, I mean, some of it really stems from that, like growing up in a home where they were told you're not allowed to have feelings, or what we talk about in this home doesn't leave this home. And, again, like you said, it's that awareness that it's okay to share with your loved one, your child, your husband, your partner, your wife, whoever, that you are struggling and you need help. I think that the more we can be honest, the more we're going to heal. But if we stay in secrecy, then we just feed the sickness, right?
Yeah.
And then it doesn't change.
And not every child who has trauma doesn't mean they were abused. But what if they were in the home keeping the secret of abuse with mom and dad?
Yeah.
And that becomes traumatic. And not to mention the sick, twisted lessons we learned about relationships and interactions and communication, and how don't share your feelings because that's when you get hurt.
Yeah.
And all these things. When you went
that's
into
all you're being taught, really. And then social media too. It just kind of, yeah.
I mean, I was lucky when I was a kid. I mean, we were writing on cave walls back then. But,
yeah, right.
But I only had to worry about bullies and problems when I went to school. I go home, I was safe. I hang out in my neighborhood with my friends, I was safe. Now, 24/7, people are connected through these damn things. They're connected. They're bullied, cyber bullied, this bully, that bully. You cannot open up your browser on your computer or open up your phone without an ad popping up telling you how you're not good enough because you don't drive this, wear this, or look like that.
Exactly.
Now, growing up as a young woman, is this a contributor to your addiction? I'm just going to, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started using when I was really young. So I was 12 years old. And when I was growing up, I was very much a free spirit. I played a ton of sports. I was a big tomboy. And then when I entered middle school, it was all like, everyone's like, oh, you have to look good. You have to be pretty and do this and do that. And I was like, oh, I like to play sports and play in dirt. And I'm like, oh, now I have to change who I am, and then I would get picked on and bullied. And it's all that image. And all you want to do is feel accepted and feel like you belong. And the only way that I knew how to do that is like, oh, there's these people smoking in the trees over here. I'm going to go join them. And then the second I tried that, it's like everything changed. School was no longer about getting an education. It was, where do I find the party, And that's the only thing that I cared about.
Wow.
And strictly, because of bullying.
And wanting to fit in and feel like get a sense of belonging.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, definitely we see a lot of times when people who are victims of bullying and stuff, you see a lack of dopamine. You see a lot of different things going on, and the drugs just start to flood the brain and change. These are the stories you're hearing every day.
Yeah.
What can we do to move the needle on the beginning of addiction? I mean, I know you're working on the back end. People have a problem. We're going to help them. But how do we move the needle at the beginning when people are picking up?
I think it's really about what you said before, is just the awareness, having these very real open conversations, but not just having conversations to raise awareness, really teaching people the tools. I think that's important because we can have all the awareness in the world, but if we don't know what to do with what we know, then we're not going to be able to move that needle, as you refer to. So I think it's about helping to raise awareness by real conversations and teaching people, which I know you all are committed to doing, which is amazing. That's a huge part. People have to be taught how to have coping skills. What are the strategies? How can you really support somebody if they're struggling with whether it's substance use or even mental health? Because to just talk about it isn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. They need to know what to do. They need to know that there's services available, and these should be everyday conversations. And yet we push them under the rug, and everybody's busy doing whatever they do. I have to ask you guys, though, I'm looking at two beautiful women, very intelligent, just fantastic people. And I've known you for a while, and I know we've met, but this is cool. I think you guys are great. Why the hell would you keep putting yourself through this every day? Aren't there days when your head hits the pillow and you say, I can't do it again?
Yeah, I think it's important to be honest that yes, it's very tiring at times and even exhausting, and more often than not, you feel like you're drained. But I think, at least for me, it's about reminding myself of my why as often as I need to. And that's usually, it's pretty frequently, daily, weekly, my why, which is to help as many people as possible, because I believe that we all innately have the capacity to heal and recover. And I think that there's a need for it. And so it's the least I can do to give back. The reason I'm here today is because there were really good therapists and mentors in my life who gave back to me and held that safe space. And so I feel like that's my commitment today, so that people can really heal and recover.
Oh, I like that.
And then for me, it's just like the journey of watching people's lives change, and I know there's plenty of days where, I get stressed out or burnt out and I feel defeated, and it's hard. It's hard a lot. But those moments, like when you get to connect with a client and you learn about their history, like the multiple suicide attempts, the growing up in a broken home, the people who never learned how to love themselves, never had anybody love them, maybe they grew up in foster care, whatever their story is, when they come in like so broken, so hopeless, and they have no idea who they are, and they start to open up, maybe when they cry for the first time, or when they like finally feel like a sense of love or belonging, or they have that aha moment and they get hope. Like there's nothing more beautiful than to like walk through that experience with them and then to watch their lives change. That's why I love the level of care that we're in, because we do PHP, IOP, and outpatient. So we get to walk with them through the journey, essentially, sometimes through their first year of recovery. And then when you get to like witness and be with them when their life changes, there's no better gift or blessing than that.
I think that's one of the, I mean, there's really no word for it. We have so many alumni who've graduated the program, and they'll just randomly pop in the center to say hi. And it's like, look at you. Like they're just like living and thriving and happy, and one of my favorite things is when you ask any of our clients to describe their experience at Agape, they often say, you can't use a word for it. It's a feeling. And if I had to label it, I would say it feels like home. And I think that's also what just keeps my cup filled. It's like, it's important to remind yourself of that.
Exactly.
We need that because we are blessed to be able to share in miracles of other people and watch their lives change. But with that is also the curse of having to watch the things that don't work and having to bury many people. Just the last 2 decades, 750,000 people have died from overdose opiates. And if the numbers don't change, the next 2 decades, that number will increase to 3 million people.
Wow.
If the numbers continue the way they're going. We're not moving that needle, like I said, and we need to do that. But is there
and with the families too, that's another thing. So I would say about a year ago, we developed our family program, and we have a family weekend quarterly. That's probably, I would say, out of everything that I do, that would be the most rewarding experience, to have the families come in. And it's not just like hey, how you doing? Meet the staff. We're going to have fun. No, we're getting like very, very deep, really deep. And we're going to heal, and we're going to confront all the nitty gritty, all the things that nobody likes to look at, and experience forgiveness and learn how to communicate and learn how to love well, like with, you know what I mean? So that in the case that their loved ones, if something happens to them, they can know that they did everything that they could and they were able to have a relationship with them, versus, like more of a traditional approach would be like a tough love, cut them off. Like we teach them how to love, how to be in relationship with somebody, even when they're. I've
seen a lot of people with family programs, and it's a very minimal approach. It doesn't get deep at all. It's very much, well, if you'd like to tune in and watch this once a week and watch this presentation, that's pretty much where it goes.
Right.
But you guys, it's more important than that, isn't it?
Oh yes. I mean, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but we are diving deep as Katy shared. And it's really about, it's the educational piece of helping people change the way they think about addiction and mental health, which I think is very important. I was just having this conversation with Karen before we jumped on this podcast that you can't shame your loved one into healing or recovery, but you can love your loved one into healing and recovery.
Right.
And so it's really about helping the families change the way they think about their loved ones' problems or perceived problems, and then having some very deep therapeutic exercises to really raise awareness to the generational trauma that's been happening. And then beyond that, teaching them the skills and then giving them the small space to actually start practicing the skills. So there's not only the knowledge piece, but the application piece. And
because if they don't heal, like we only have these individuals for, 30, 60, 90 days, sometimes 6 months. Right. And then the rest of it, like they're with their families.
Well, it's like taking a shower and going home, putting on dirty clothes.
Right. You can't do it. Yeah.
You need a safe place to go. It doesn't mean everybody's got to be perfect, but at least there's got to be education to the point where we're all on the same page and understand we all have a role to play to heal our family.
Exactly.
And I really, this is so important because so many people just kind of sideline the family thing.
Yeah. And it's like, the environment impacts us. So if the loved one comes to treatment and they do, whether it's 30, 45, 60, 90 days, maybe they're in Florida for a year, amazing, doing treatment, but then they go back to that environment where they were once sick or their loved ones are sick, they're going to become sick again. That's just, that's nature, right? That's nature. Literally the same is true for nature, right? You can't take a plant and put it in an environment where there's no sun, no water and expect it to live. It's not going to happen. And the same is true for us. So I think, I would agree that it's the most rewarding work we do, the family program.
So, you treat them individually when they come in. And by the way, what you said about putting shame on somebody and expecting that to make them better.
Yeah, it's just.
I'm sorry. Mental health, addiction, alcoholism, they all come with their own shame. They come with their own shame and their own guilt. Us putting more shame on top, I'm not sure how that makes sense that they would come out. We actually drive them deeper when we do that.
Right.
They need love. They need hope. That's what they need is hope and faith.
Yeah.
But all right, so you're dealing with these people individually when they're coming in. You're looking at their mental health status. You're looking at the addiction. You're looking at them as a human being and their lifestyles. You're working with the families and all that stuff. But the rubber hits the road when they leave you, when they're done. Now being in your care, whether it's res, PHP, IOP, OP, or anything, there's kind of a safety net there. It's when they leave. What happens when they become an alumni of?
Yeah, well, we have an alumni program. We believe, aftercare is probably the most important part as you're sharing. So we have an alumni program. The alumni coordinator is staying in touch with every person that graduates from our program. We're hosting different alumni events so they can still feel connected and a part of Agape. And then prior to a person discharging, really at the time of admission, we're talking about aftercare, right? What's the plan? And throughout the course of their treatment, we're helping them develop a safe aftercare plan, which might include AA for somebody. Maybe it's NA, maybe it's CODA, maybe it's church, maybe it's all of those things.
Yeah.
But we're making sure that there's a solid plan in place to really support the pillars of mind, body, and spirit.
And if somebody who's an alumni needs help, can they call and just talk to somebody?
Anytime.
Are there kind of services there for them?
Yeah. They have our alumni coordinator who's available 24/7. They can always call our 1-800 number if they ever need anything, or if they're in need of services, need some additional support, they can always reach out and we'll get them help with it.
Have you guys moved into the electronic phase yet?
We offer telehealth.
Yes,
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
I love technology, don't you?
Yeah.
We offer virtual IOP right now.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Yes.
So people who have to go back, if they've been in your treatment and they have to go back to wherever they are, and sometimes they do. It's not always not legit. Sometimes it's legitimate. It could be job or child care or something going on. But now you still have access to them to help them.
Yes. And it's really amazing too, because that allows them to continue working with their primary therapist. So let's say you go through PHP and you've just done 4 to 6 weeks with one therapist, and now you have to go back home for some legitimate reason. You don't have to end and start over with somebody. You get to stay working with the person you've been working with.
And I can't imagine everybody at Agape is as cool as you guys.
We are really
Tell me
cool
about
team.
the staff.
No,
Tell me about the
we
staff.
honestly have the most amazing team. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. From top all the way throughout, we are just so blessed.
Absolutely.
I've caught you guys out. I think we were you guys were having a lunch or something, and we sat at another table. Our friend Dog was with us.
Oh yeah. I remember.
But you guys look like such a. It looked like a big Italian family.
That's
gathering.
right.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like.
And
It's really
Greek.
Was-
Greek.
yeah.
Greek.
The Greek family.
There you go.
Yeah, no, but it really is like a family. It's,
Mhm.
I think it's just so special that we're all so close. We work together, we collaborate, we believe in each other, we support each other. And it's really about that connection and collaboration. That's what makes us the best.
Yeah, we're known for our culture.
So let's wrap this up a little bit. But first, if somebody wants to know more about you, they can certainly go online. Agape, you can go to agapetc.com or you can go to agapebhc.com. I looked those up, so I knew.
Yes.
But go to the website and then call. But do you encourage people to come in and visit or to look around or to ask questions?
Absolutely.
Because the worst part is people will research their next car more than they research where they're going to put their son or daughter for treatment.
Right.
So do you encourage them to talk to somebody?
Absolutely. Please. All they have to do is call our admissions line, which you can find on the website, and schedule a time to come in. Oftentimes those meetings that you can speak to me if you'd like, you can talk to Katy. Sometimes they're speaking to multiple staff members. We really encourage that. Come see the facility, see the housing, and interview us.
Yeah.
Really.
If the only one you're allowed to talk to is the phone operators or
Admissions rep.
the admissions
Yeah.
operators, if that's the only one you're allowed to talk to, hang up and call Agape instead.
Right.
Because you should be able to talk to people
To anybody,
or
yes.
schedule time to talk. And you guys are very proud of what you do, so you want to show it off.
Yes. Yes. We are very proud.
Absolutely.
Given where we are right now, we got a long way to go. People are dying. Treatment at best, we're saving maybe 10% or 15%. We're such a work in progress as a human race dealing with this. What do you think? What would you like to see in the next couple of years happen? What do you think? What would you love to see?
Oh man, I love this question. I would really love to see all of behavioral healthcare truly shift the way they're doing things and put more of an emphasis on addressing trauma and teaching people to better understand their brains and bodies. I think the more we can understand about our brains and bodies, then that in itself is going to help the stigma fade away, the shame, the guilt, all these perceived negative emotions go away, because everything makes sense. Every behavior makes sense. And I just wish the world would start to understand that, because I think if we started to understand that, more people are going to have the courage to raise their hand and say, I need help, or pick up the phone and say, I need help. So I would love to see the shift.
You know what? They already started, because I thought my anger and all that other stuff was caused because of something wrong with me. Turns out I just needed a Snickers. That's the damage we put out there. Is it will take advantage of something like people becoming angry or irritable, and we'll say, give them sugar, and we'll do things like that, and it's doing damage.
Yeah.
It's not truth. So when you want people out there discussing it and learning it, we need to know the truth.
Yes.
You know, there's enough false information. Katy, how about you? What would you love to see change?
I would love for people to begin to love themselves more, right? And really like erasing the stigma, like she was sharing. And I think we're making a lot of movement, especially in mental health, right? I see a big change in that, but especially with addiction as well. I think if you erase the stigma and there's more of a movement to bring awareness to the different resources and get ahead of it, like we were talking about earlier, bringing it into schools, right? You could see like a huge difference in the future.
People don't hide.
Yeah.
People don't hide breaking an arm or a leg. And, and when something's broken up here, we hide it.
Exactly.
And that's got to stop. And we have to understand everybody. If you dig deep enough, everybody's got something going on.
Yes.
Everybody.
Absolutely.
And some more than others, obviously. But I am very pleased you guys had time to come in, and I love the work that you're doing. Give George a high five for me, because I love Agape. I've never gotten a full tour of Agape. You could
Really?
we'll do lunch and we'll do a full tour or something. But
Sounds
I've been
good.
in and out very quickly, and just and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can do
In
a
fact,
tour, meet the
piece
team.
of my art is hanging in Agape.
Really? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Dog the Bounty Hunter, the painting. I think George has it.
Nice.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
But I really appreciate the work you guys do. And again, people, if you have somebody who's in trouble, this isn't the thing. Like years ago, I'm even going to tell you, in the original literature with AA, it actually said, if you're not convinced, go out and try some controlled drinking. We can't encourage anybody to do that. It's a different day and age. We can't guarantee anybody's going to be here tomorrow, given the drugs that are on the streets and that are in our homes, and of course the addition of the mental health issues that are going on. If you have someone that you love that needs help, call Agape. Talk to somebody. Even if you're not sure what to do or what you want to do, at least know that somebody's on your side. That's really, really important. And if you're concerned that your son or daughter or husband, wife, or whoever it might be angry with you for reaching out, I hope they stay angry with you for a very long, healthy life. Let's put it that way. Guys, any final thoughts?
Just thank you so much for having us. It's really an honor to be here.
Yes.
Thank you, Scott. My pleasure. And we'll do this again, I hope, sometime.
Yes, absolutely.
Sounds good.
Fantastic. All right. So I want to thank, I guess, Stephanie and Katy for joining us from Agape Behavioral Healthcare. And Agape Behavioral Healthcare. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in. Again, please subscribe to the channel, leave comments so that we know what's going on, and share this with your friends. We'll catch you next time right here on the Sober Life Podcast. Bye-bye.